In this video, I'm going to be ranking every single special world level in Super Mario Bros. Wonder in order from the least difficult to the most difficult. This includes every level that you can get to from each of the 7 main worlds, as well as the unlockable levels later on in the game. But before we get into the video, don't forget to jump into that subscribe button for more content like this, because the more you guys show support, the more often videos like these will be coming out. So now with the intro out of the way, let's get into the easiest special world level in the entire game, which is World 3's Triple Threat Deluge, which in my opinion is the easiest special level in the entire game, mainly because there isn't any platforming involved in this level whatsoever. The hardest thing about this level, in my opinion, are the spike balls that are being thrown by the Lakitus and how random they are at breaking the walls. Of course, the Lakitus are aiming for you, which is how you control where they land, but you have to wait quite a bit sometimes for the walls to break, because those spike balls sometimes just chip away at the walls until they break. But most times they pave the way for you to move on in one shot, which is fine. But other than that, the level is relatively easy. Even dodging is made easy by using the octagons in the wall to dodge the spike balls as well, which makes the level, of course, easier. So that's why this level is set at number 10 instead of higher up on the list. But speaking of being higher up on the list, the level sitting at the number 9 position is World 1's Bounce Bounce Bounce. This level is the first special level you play in the game. When you first play it initially without the knowledge of everything else that comes after it, it comes off as a pretty hard level, which was my initial thoughts, as the difficulty just spiked out of nowhere. But after playing every other special level and looking back at this one, it doesn't seem as hard anymore, especially with the badge marathon level later on in the game. But in my opinion, this isn't that big of a deal compared to some of the other levels, as here you just have to bounce on the hippos all the way to the end of the level, while being able to collect the purple coins on the way as well, which is really hard to do without taking damage, don't get me wrong. But as a whole, this level compared to the other ones moving forward isn't as hard, as you're just bouncing your way to the end of the level, and controlling the hippos isn't that hard either. So that's why this level is sitting at number 9 on the list and not later on. Number 8 is a spicy one, and probably a real shocker for all of you, which is the semi-final test Piranha Plant Reprise, which is a shocker because this comes after 3 of the 6 normal special levels. And in my opinion, when I first played this level, I thought this was going to be really hard because it's an unlockable level in the special world, which precedes the final and final test, which are really hard in their respective ways. But this level isn't as hard as it leads on to be, because it's just a bullet hell simulator, in the sense of most of the level you're just dodging projectiles in the form of either bullet bills or the piranha plants themselves, which isn't that hard, not gonna lie, especially the fact that it's a parade level, which is meant to be more of a fun level rather than frustrating. But I'll admit, the ending did catch me off guard with the fast auto scroller, so I'll give them that. But the platforming and bullet hell mechanics in this level, in my opinion, is one of the more easier ones in this game, but definitely harder than the last 2 levels on this list, which is why it's sitting at number 8 in this ranking. Next up, coming up at number 7, is World 4's Pole Block Allure, which is mainly played on, of course, the pole blocks. But the hardest parts of this level is when you're required to jump on the bloops to get to a certain objective, such as collecting the Wonder Flower, which is the easiest thing in the world, or collecting the 10 coins while also having to grab onto the pole on the other side of the gap, which is sort of hard, but not the hardest thing in the world. Overall, this level doesn't pose that big of a challenge mechanically, as you only have to use the bloops 3 times in this level, which are all performed in a very controlled environment, and most of the level takes place on the horizontal poles anyways, which keeps you safe from falling to your death in certain instances. Next up at number 6, we have World 5's Dangerous Donut Ride, which is where we start hitting the danger zone with the difficult levels. As from this level going forward, the level of difficulty these levels possess will be much higher than any of the levels previously talked about. So take the first 4 levels on this list as a warm-up of some sort to get prepared for these upcoming levels, because they're really hard. But moving back to the level at hand, World 5's Special World level is all around really difficult, both in the realms of mechanics and collection, as most of the 10 coins in this level are really difficult to collect without either dying or taking damage. For example, the last 10 coin that you requires you to control the speed at which you fall in order to collect the coin to avoid dying, which is pretty difficult when you know there's also enemies coming at you from above, which is another thing that makes this level so difficult, which is being able to dodge the enemies coming from above, all while controlling the speed at which you fall and the direction you're moving, as the poison gets bigger and smaller the longer the section goes on for. Also, I must mention the beginning section as well for a brief moment, as this platforming section in particular is also really difficult, as these energy balls, if you'd even call them that, just come out in numbers and are really easy to get hit by, and there are no extra super mushrooms that are given to you in this level, so if you get hit, you're stuck the way you are for the rest of the level, which is probably going to be Mini Mario, which is one hit kill and that's it. But I think I've talked about this level long enough, because at this point you probably get the gist of where I'm getting at, which is that this level is really hard, but not as hard as the next level, which is sitting at number 5, which is World 6's Solar Roller, which has you platforming as a spike ball the entire time while being timed with clock platforms, which I thought was such a cool touch to this level, because this was the one thing that could actually make this level hard, since the spike ball is basically invincible at all times, and the only thing that could actually put a stop to it, which is falling to my certain death. But I think the thing that makes this twice as hard is the fact that in many moments in this level you are required to use triangular bouncy platforms platforms to get around, and some of them are really thin, which makes it really easy to completely miss if you're moving too fast. But the hardest thing in this level is keeping up with the platforms, because if you're too slow, you'll end up completely falling and having to reset the level all over again. So in my opinion, this level is one of the hardest levels in the game, purely based on the platforming difficulties as a fast rolling spike ball, but not nearly as hard as platforming in the number 4 level on this list, which is the Petal Isles Way of the Goomba. And as the name implies, you're going through the entire level platforming as a Goomba. But before we move any further, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're liking this video so far, as a lot of work gets put into these videos. So if you want to see more videos like this in the future, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But now back to speaking about platforming as a Goomba, which in my opinion, other than platforming as a spike ball, this takes the cake as the hardest thing to platform with, as Goombas don't move fast at all, and they can't jump either, which makes this level so much more harder than it has to be, because even on bouncy platforms, they don't get as much height either, which just makes no sense at all. But the final part of this level is the most stress inducing, as a combination of both the speed and the jump height gets put into this, since you have to platform across a gap and collect the 10 coin at the same time, purely on bubbles these birds blow, which pop once you jump on them, which requires precise timing and just moving forward, which is really hard to do without dying at least once. The beginning is also really hard to get down, as the timing of the thwomps can be a bit confusing to start with, but once you have it, you get by pretty smoothly every time. But the speed at which the Goombas move at and the height at which they bounce at is a big player as to why this level is so hard and why it's so high on this list. Now for the top 3, which I think all of you can probably predict how this is going to go, but I'm going to go through them anyways because some of you may be surprised, but I know many of you probably won't be. But coming at number 3 on this list is the final regular world special level, which is World 2's Climb to the Beat, which is the stand-in for the beat blocks in this game, which is 10 times harder than the actual beat blocks found in Mario 3D World and Galaxy. And for those of you that haven't seen this game before, this level requires you to climb to the music that is being played throughout the level, which gets increasingly faster as the timer counts down, which represents the time that you have to collect the actual Wonder Seed at the end of the level. The reason this level is so high on this list isn't purely because I think the level is super hard, but because a lot of people that I've seen play this level collectively think that this level is one of the hardest levels in the game, period. Mainly because of the different kinds of jumps you have to perform in this level, and the singular block wall jumps that are present in this level as well, which are a lot by the way, and was specifically hard for me as I struggle with the wall jumping mechanic in these games in particular, as I always forget that you have to move the controller stick to the direction of the wall you want to attach to, which made me die a lot in this level, which was really frustrating to say the least. But it's really surprising that a level of this difficulty was introduced so early on in the game, as every other late game special world level in my opinion doesn't come close to this level in terms of difficulty, because the speed you have to perform jumps in this level is just ridiculous, along with the added stress of the speed of the music just makes for a really hard level altogether, and that's why this level is sitting at number 3 on this list and not any higher than the other ones. But now for the number 2 level on this list, which is the final test Wonder Gauntlet, which, fun fact, I thought was the last level of the game, and probably all of you thought as well, and was really surprised that it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be until I saw what came afterwards, in which I quickly took back any ill feelings I had about this game. But the reason the Wonder Gauntlet is sitting at number 2 is because of the fact that it's a pretty lengthy level with a combination of mechanics used in many previous levels seen in the game, but it doesn't contain any checkpoints, which means if you die, you have to restart the level all over again. And to remind you, it's not like a normal level which is relatively short, it's a really long level, which just adds to the frustration when you die. I would say the beginning and the end of the level are the 2 hardest sections within it, mainly because the beginning you can fall off the pipe or completely miss the platforms and fall into the poison, and also the fact that the level speeds up and slows down, which makes it way harder to actually perform the platforming. But the one good thing about that is that your character is unaffected by it, and it's only the background that's affected by the speed. And the hard thing about the ending is mainly because of the final 10 coin, which is easily missed if you don't get high enough for the floor above. It's also really easy to die at the end by falling through an opening, since you're running really fast, since you're using a star power up to finish off the level. But in my opinion, I think the fact there isn't any checkpoints in a really lengthy level like this earns its spot at number 2 on this list, especially since there are many different mechanics that go into this level anyway. So yeah, that's the reason why the Wonder Gauntlet is sitting at number 2 on this list and not number 1, because we all know what's coming up next, which is the level that is taking the number 1 spot as the hardest Super Mario Bros. Wonder special world level, and arguably the hardest level in this entire game, which is the final test badge marathon, which actually has checkpoints located in the level, but not even those will help you here, because as the name states, it is indeed a badge challenge, and as we've seen prior to this level in other badge challenges, these things aren't necessarily supposed to be easy, and this level in my opinion is the hardest in the entire game. The reason for this is because of the courses that are set up for these challenges, especially in the second half of the level, starting with the crouching high jump, which took me a long time to get the hang of before I started getting it done on my first try, since the timing of the jumps sometimes would be way off and I wouldn't even get the boost I needed to proceed through the level. And sometimes I would uncrouch too early where I would get hit from above, or I would crouch too early to the point where I would straight up ground pound into the lava. This first section took about 20 minutes for me to get by for the first time, which is absolutely insane now thinking about it. But following that is the spring jump, which is an automatic jump that the badge gives you as if you're on a permanent spring. And this was again really difficult as the timing on these fire bars were really hard to time. And probably 5 retries later, I figured out that I could spin in midair to stall so I could actually get across, which made it a lot easier. But the badge that really takes the cake for me is the last one, which is the Invisibility badge, which makes you platform on moving bloops while invisible, which was really intimidating at first and took a lot of focus when I did get to it. But only after 2 tries and 1 hour in total of attempting this level, I was able to beat this section and level as a whole. And that, my friends, is why the badge marathon is ranked number 1 in the hardest special world levels. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Click on the one to see if you want to see another video Mario Wonder related, and if you want to see me rank some more Mario related things, click the subscribe button for more content like this in the future, as the support you guys show is always appreciated and shows you guys are liking the content being put out. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace!